Did you know that there are quite a few celebrities out there today who share their names with famous historical figures? In this video from History Calling, I'm going to take you through some well-known names of the 21st century who were just as well known in earlier times, but for very different people and very different reasons. What's more, I'll bet that while you'll know about some of them, others will be completely new to you. You get a gold star right now if you know who Brad Pitt and Tom Holland share their names with. Okay, let's set some parameters for this video. I'm taking the concept of sharing the same name fairly loosely, as this video is just for fun. So that means that I'm going to include people who have changed their names either to or from the name of a famous historical figure, and as you'll see, middle names will be important too. So with that in mind, let's get started. First on our list is, I think, a nice easy one, as both the women who hold or held this name are very well known. I give you the Jane Seymours. The first was, of course, the third wife of Henry VIII, mother of Edward VI, and Queen of England for just under a year and a half before her death at Hampton Court Palace in October 1537 due to childbirth complications, and at the age of about 29. Her exact date of birth is uncertain. The modern-day Jane is a famous actress, born in 1951 and best known for roles such as Solitaire in the James Bond movie Live and Let Die in 1973 and the TV show Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, which ran from 1993 to 1998. Her birth name, however, is actually Joyce Penelope Wilhelmina Frankenberg, and so Jane Seymour is merely the stage name she chose, though she may well have legally changed it too, I don't know. Number 2 is Jesse James. The original Jesse was a famed American outlaw from Missouri who lived between 1847 and 1882. He was guilty of a whole litany of crimes, including robberies in which people were killed, and was eventually shot to death by a man named Robert Ford, with whom he was staying, and who wanted a reward which had been placed on James. The modern Jesse James claims to be related to the first, though I'm not aware of any proof of that. He was born in 1969 and is described by Wikipedia as, quote, an American entrepreneur, automotive mechanic, and television personality. To be honest though, I wasn't familiar with him until he married the actress Sandra Bullock, from whom he is now divorced. There are other Jesse Jameses listed on Wikipedia, but I think he is the best known one who is still alive, and unlike the actress Jane Seymour, Jesse James is his real name. Number 3 is Mark Antony. The historical Mark Antony was, to give him the Latin version of his name, which he would have recognised, Marcus Antonius. He lived between 83 BC and 30 BC and was one of the most famous ever Roman politicians and generals, and a supporter of Julius Caesar. He also married Caesar's great niece, Octavia, as his fourth wife, but this didn't prevent him moving to Egypt after Caesar's murder and striking up an affair with none other than Queen Cleopatra, by whom he had 3 children. After a major falling out with his brother-in-law, Octavia's brother Octavian, also known as Caesar Augustus, Antony and Cleopatra died in Egypt having self-destructed, if you know what I mean. The modern Mark Antony is actually called Marco Antonio Muniz, apologies if I didn't pronounce that correctly, and was born in 1968. He is a well-known American singer-songwriter and actor who has won 4 Grammys, sold over 12 million albums, and was previously married to Jennifer Lopez. Funnily enough, despite sharing a name with the Roman general, when I was researching him, I read a story that his parents actually named him after a Mexican singer also called Marco Antonio Muniz, but as that story had no source on Wikipedia, I don't know if it's true. Number 4 on our list is Tom Holland. Now, I didn't realise until very recently that this name was held by an historical figure, but when I did a video on Joan of Kent, Princess of Wales and mother of Richard II, linked on screen and below, I learned that her first husband was called Thomas Holland. Born in around 1315, Holland married Joan, who was the king's cousin, in secret when she was only around 12 years old. He then went off campaigning in Prussia, and in the meantime, her family made her marry someone else. When Holland returned, a noted soldier and probably a lot wealthier than he had been when he left England, he was able to sue for the return of his wife through the papal courts, and eventually he won. He and Joan went on to have 4 surviving children together, and she inherited a great deal of land and money as a result of the death of her brother. Thomas continued to be a highly important political figure, eventually dying at Rouen on the 28th of December 1360. He was ultimately buried in Lincolnshire, and his wife married the Black Prince the following year. The modern Tom Holland, and his full first name is Thomas, just like his name twin, is an English actor born in 1996. He first gained fame playing Billy Elliot in the musical of the same name, and my fellow Tudor nerds may remember him from Wolf Hall in 2015. I think it's fair to say, though, that it was his involvement in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, playing Spider-Man, that really pushed him into the celebrity stratosphere. Before we move on, if you're enjoying this content, please remember to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel with the notification bell switched on so you never miss an upload. I get the odd person telling me they thought they were subscribed or had notifications on, only to discover that they weren't when they missed a video, so it might not hurt to double check your status as well. If you want more from History Calling, you can also find me on Patreon, where I share perks including early access to ad-free videos and bonus videos. This week, for instance, I'm sharing my own experience of having a name twin with my time traveller and historical figure patrons. The site is linked below for you, as is my Amazon storefront, which has recommendations for lots of history-themed items, and my Instagram account. Thank you to everyone who supports me on one or more of those platforms, and to those of you who make one-off donations to the channel using the thanks button underneath videos. Your kindness is always much appreciated. Next up, we have Anne Hathaway. I have no confirmed pictures of the original Anne, but she lived between about 1556 and 1623, and was married to none other than William Shakespeare. Anne and William were wed in 1582 when she was already 3 months pregnant, and we know very little about her, though there is speculation that it was a difficult marriage, but there's really insufficient evidence to form any solid opinion about it. We think she grew up in Shottery in Warwickshire, I hope I pronounced that town the right way, and if you go there today you can see locations such as Anne Hathaway's cottage where she supposedly lived. She and Shakespeare had 3 children in total. Daughter Susanna and twins Judith and Hamnet. And yes, that's Hamnet, not Hamlet. Sadly, this little boy died of plague at the age of 11. Anne herself is buried next to her husband's grave in Stratford-upon-Avon's Holy Trinity Church. And I'll be honest, I don't know if I would know her name if not for the modern-day Anne Hathaway, who is of course a famous American actress. She was born in 1982 and is known for roles in films including The Princess Diaries, The Devil Wears Prada, Rachel Getting Married, Les Miserables, and Interstellar. She's well aware of her famous namesake, as I've seen her discuss Mrs. Shakespeare in interviews, and I can't be the only one who thinks it would be fun if one Anne played the other in a movie, right? For number 6, we have the Steve McQueens. And these are unusual as all the Steves I'll be talking about are from the 20th century, though 2 out of the 3 are still alive in the 21st. The original, if you will, was famous American movie star Steve McQueen, born in 1930 as Terence Stephen McQueen, and known for films including The Sand Pebbles, The Thomas Crown Affair, and The Great Escape. He died aged 50 in 1980. The other 2 famous McQueens are the actor's grandson, born in 1988 and also an actor, called Stephen R. McQueen. If you ever watched The Vampire Diaries, you may remember him from that. And the British director Steve McQueen, born in 1969 and known for films including 12 Years a Slave. At number 7, we have Christopher Columbus. The historical figure is the well-known explorer who was born in Genoa in 1451 and who discovered the Americas in 1492. He actually landed in the Bahamas at first. having crossed the Atlantic under the patronage of King Ferdinand of Aragon and his wife, Queen Isabella of Castile. Incidentally, I know the Vikings had discovered North America earlier, but by the late 15th century that knowledge seems to have been lost or barely known about in Europe. It is no exaggeration to say that Columbus's voyages changed the world by initiating the colonization of the Americas by Europeans. If you see my video on the Flat Earth myth, you can hear a little bit more about him there. His name twin is the American director Chris Columbus, who was born in 1958 and who was at the helm of some of my favourite children's movies, including the Home Alone films and the first two Harry Potters. He obviously doesn't mind leaning into his association with the earlier Columbus, as his production company is called 1492 Pictures, obviously a reference to the discovery of the Americas by Columbus Sr. At number 8 we have Tom Hardy. There have been a few Thomas Hardys over the centuries, but until the 21st, I think the most famous was the English writer of that name, born in 1840 and known for books including Far from the Madding Crowd, published in 1874, and Tess of the D'Urbervilles, published in 1891. He died in 1928 and is buried in Poets' Corner in Westminster Abbey. The current Tom Hardy is a British film actor born in 1977 whose full name is actually Edward Thomas Hardy, but remember, I'm not holding the use of middle names against anyone. As a Trekkie and a Tudor fan, I first remember him from Star Trek Nemesis back in 2002 and The Virgin Queen in 2005, but I think he's probably better known today for roles in movies including The Dark Knight Rises and The Revenant. Last but not least, we have Brad Pitt, and I'm going to start with him rather than his historical counterparts, just to give you one last chance to guess who his name twins, plural, are. American actor Brad Pitt was born in 1963 and is one of the most famous actors of the late 1990s and early 21st century. Some of his best known films include Seven, the Ocean's Trilogy, Fight Club, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Such is the nature of fame today that he is also well known for his personal life, including his engagement to Gwyneth Paltrow and marriages to Jennifer Aniston and Angelina Jolie. So who are his name twins? Well, to answer that, I first have to tell you that, like Tom Hardy, Brad Pitt does not use his full birth name in his acting career. His real name is William Bradley Pitt, and it's the name William Pitt which will mean something to historians of 18th century Britain. William Pitt the Elder and his son William Pitt the Younger were famous British politicians. Pitt the Elder was born in 1708 and after a political career spanning decades, ultimately became Prime Minister in 1766 for 2 years. He married Lady Hester Grenville in 1754 and had 5 children by her, including their second son, William Pitt the Younger. He became the Earl of Chatham in 1766 and ultimately died in 1778. William Pitt the Younger was born in 1759 and his political career took off at a much faster pace than his father's. I think we can all smell the nepotism from here, but it was the rule rather than the exception at that time. He became an MP at the age of 21, and not only did he also become Prime Minister, he did so in 1783 at the age of just 24, making him the youngest PM Britain/the UK has ever had to date. He held the office until 1801, then again from 1804 until his death in 1806, making him a very high-profile politician during an incredibly turbulent period in world history. He was Premier during the French Revolution, the early Napoleonic Wars, the union between Britain and Ireland in 1801, and the so-called Madness of King George. He never married and was buried in Westminster Abbey. I hope you've enjoyed these brief looks at celebrities and their historical name twins. Let me know below if I told you about any you'd never heard of before, and if you can think of any other famous personages with the same name, excluding famous children named after their parents, because Pitts aside, that's a bit of a cheat. I particularly wish I'd had more women on the list, so if you can come up with any, that would be great. I'll be back next time with something new for you, and until then, keep learning.